In this video, we're going to take a look at the mean and variance of a negative binomial distribution. Now, it's important that you're able to calculate the mean and variance of a random variable which follows a negative binomial distribution. So, to begin with here, let's just take a random variable. So let's say we're working with x here. We have the random variable x which follows a negative binomial distribution. Follows a negative binomial distribution. And the parameters that we're working with here are r and p. So we have r and we have p. Okay. So for the mean of this random variable here, which follows a negative binomial distribution, let's just write this down in full. So for the mean of x here, this is the same then as the expectation of this random variable x, so that's e of x. That's e of x, and we can use the Greek letter here mu to represent the mean, equal to mu. And the result that we use here for the mean of this random variable x, which follows a negative binomial distribution, is r divided by p. So you can see here just r over p. So that's for the mean of that random variable there, which follows a negative binomial distribution. So what about the variance now? Well, the variance here of this random variable x, again, let's just write this down in full. So this is var x here. So var x, and we can use the Greek letter sigma here, so sigma squared because it's the variance. And this is equal then to r times 1 minus p, and that's all over p squared. Okay, and there we have it. So like we said, if we have a random variable here x, which follows a negative binomial distribution with parameters r and p, the mean is simply r over p, and the variance then is r times 1 minus p, all divided by p squared. So those are the two results that you need. These results are given in the formula book, so you don't need to worry about memorizing them, but it is handy to just kind of be able to, remember them, use them straight away. Okay, but there we have it. So that's everything that we need there for our introduction. So what we're going to do now is just take a look at some practice questions here, the mean and variance of a negative binomial distribution. Starting off then with question 1 now, where we have the random variable x, which follows a negative binomial distribution, such that, and then what we've got here is the two parameters. So in this case, r is equal to a, and p is equal to 0.25. So for the first part here, part A, we're simply looking for the expectation of this random variable x. In other words, what we're looking for here is the mean. So for part A then, we're looking for the expectation or the mean of this random variable x. And because this random variable follows a negative binomial distribution, the result is simply r divided by p. Okay, so just using the results that we established at the beginning of the video. So r over p, well, r is equal to a, p is 0.25. So I've got a divided by 0.25. And nice and straightforward here, this will give us 32. Okay. There we have it. So that's the answer there to part A. Nice and straightforward. So for B then, what we're looking for now is the variance. We're looking for the variance of the random variable x here. And again, we're simply using the results that we established at the beginning of this video. This will be r times 1 minus p all over p squared. Okay. So r in this case, like we've already seen, is a. We established that here. It's going to be a times 1 minus p, where p is 0.25. And we divide this here by p squared, so it's going to be 0.25 squared. All you need to do here now is just simply put this into your calculator. And if you do this correctly, what you should get then is 96. Okay? And there we have it. So that's the solution there to question 1. Moving on to question 2 now, where we have the random variable y, which follows a negative binomial distribution. And we can see the two parameters here. So we've got r and 0.5. And we're also given that the variance of y is equal to 24, So for the first part here, we're asked to find the value of r. So where do we begin here? Well, because we know the variance of y is equal to 24, what we're hoping here is that we can use the result then for the variance, set that equal to 24, and we should be able to solve and find the value of r. So let's do that to begin with. So for part A then, so for the variance here of the random variable y, the result that we use here is r times 1 minus p, and that's all over p squared. Okay. Now we don't know what r is, that's what we're looking to find the value of, but we do know what p is, so p is equal to 0.5. Okay. Now we also know the value of the variance of y, that's 24. So all of this is equal to 24. If I now substitute p into this equation here, this formula, set it equal to 24, we should hopefully be able to solve and find the value of r. So let's go ahead and do that. So what I've got here then is r times 1 minus 0.5, which would obviously just be itself again, it would be 0.5, and we divide this here by 0.5 squared, and that's all equal to 24. So now, if I evaluate the bracket here, 1 minus 0.5, that's simply 0.5. So what I get here then is 0.5r all over, so 0.5 squared, so that's a half, times by a half, so that would give me a quarter, or 0.25, whichever you prefer, and that's equal to 24. So now I want to get rid of this fraction here. So to get rid of that fraction, I'm going to times both sides by a quarter here. That would get rid of that denominator. So I times this side here by a quarter, that would just be 0.5r, like so. The right hand side here then, times this now by a quarter here, that would give me 24 times a quarter, so that would be 6. And then we're nearly done here now, we simply want the value of r, and I need to just divide by 0.5, so therefore the value of r is equal to 6 divided by a half, which is equal to 12 there. Okay, and there we have it, so that's the value of r. Now for part B here, we're looking to find the expectation of the random variable y. So for the expectation then, just write this down. So for the expectation of y, remember this is simply r over p. Well, in this case, r is equal to 12. P is equal to 0.5. So dividing by a half is the same as timesing by 2. So 12 times by 2 would give us 24 there. Okay. And there we have it. So that gives the solution there to question 2. And finally then, if we take a look now at the very last question here, question 3, where we have the probability that Ben scores a free kick in football training on any one attempt, that's given as 0.8. So for this question here, we're asked to determine the mean and variance for the number of shots needed to score 4 goals. So as we begin with here, what we need to do is define the distribution that we're working with. So if we just choose our random variable here, completely up to you what letter you choose, but I'm just going to choose x here. It's pretty standard to just work with x as our random variable. So x follows a negative binomial distribution. And what we need now are our parameters here. So in this case here, for r, that would be the condition on which we class that as a success. So if we're looking for the number of shots needed to score 4 goals, our r in this case would simply be 4. So r is equal to 4. My probability here, well, that would be 0.8 because we're looking at scoring a free kick, scoring a goal, and that would be 0.8. So p is equal to 0.8 there. That's the distribution that we're working with for this question. So now all we need is simply the mean and variance, and all we're doing here is using the results that we established at the beginning of the video. So for the mean here, in other words, the expectation of x, that's given as r over p. That would simply be 4 divided by 0.8. Like so. And 4 divided by 0.8, that would give us 5 there for the mean. And now for the variance here. In other words, var x here, that would be r times 1 minus p, and that's all over p squared. In this case here then, r is 4. I've got 4 times 1 minus 0.8. I divide this here by 0.8 squared. What you need to do here now is just put this into your calculator. And if you do this correctly, what you should get then for the variance is 1.25. Okay? And there we have it. So that gives the mean there and the variance, and that gives the solution there to question 3. And that actually brings the end of this video on finding the mean and variance of a negative binomial distribution.